And today's class is all about call capture, why it's important, how it's going to help you grow your business, and specifically the system that Kalamazoo Mortgage uses and is truly rocking it out with their system. So, Brian, I know that I'm going to kind of let you take over the class. You just let me know when you need to jump in or when I need to jump in.
Okay, perfect. So we have been, we got, I guess a background on this is that we, about 3 or 4 years ago, when we started, doing the different types of lead sources, we, with our realtor partners, we did pretty much everything from Zillow to Trulia to, Boomtown, Commissions Inc., Tiger Leads, Leads Now, you name it, we did it. And the one thing that we always, that always kind of was a head scratcher for me was when we would get callers from realtors, and I always say, well, hey, where'd you get the lead from? They say, oh, it's a sign call, meaning like it just called their listing. Well, then about 2 years ago, I went to a coaching event through the company that we eventually hired called Corporate Coaching and Consulting, and we got the opportunity to meet a bunch of top agents in the country, and these folks were like raving about a system called ProQuest, or using what's called an IVR, or basic interactive voice recording. And the more that we got to thinking about it was that when you think about where somebody's at in the buying process, the start, I think not a lot of people would disagree that it usually starts on the internet, but as these folks heat up, they begin getting in their cars, filling their tanks up with gas, and then driving around looking in the areas they want to eventually buy it. So you want to go ahead and next slide, Julie? So what we did was we started interviewing these different types of call capture companies. And we, at the time, we saw the texting. That was for a while. That was the big thing. And the one thing that I could never quite get over is, you're driving down the road, you stop alongside the road, you're always kind of in a hurry to do whatever it is you got to do. And a lot of the people that we talk to, a lot of customers we talk to, especially if they're, if it's a non-millennial borrower, to text a 5-digit code to a 5-digit code to a, and then wait for something back, that wasn't always as user-friendly as something as simple as just dialing a 1-800 number. Now, we have had those in the past, and I'll kind of talk a little bit more later about what makes this one a little bit unique. And then the third type that we had seen a lot was the QR code, which I think QR codes are great for different pieces of marketing. You can do a lot with them. But for this particular type of lead generation, capture, and conversion, the call capture is what we decided to go with, and we've had quite a bit of success with it. Okay, Julie. So some of the things about, some of the items that we have with the system that we use is that, one, of the people that call it, the system is so structured and so regimented that by us setting it up, we know if we put out X amount of signs, how many calls that we're going to get. It does work. It is a 24/7 system, and of the folks that call our signs, 74% of them will say yes for pricing information if our forms are filled out correctly. So when we say forms are filling out correctly, many of you have been completing the forms, getting them to Aaron. The biggest thing on the form is, like, in the property description, it's got to be 90 words. The reason why it's 90 words is that if it's shorter, the people hang up. If it's longer, they hang up. And the information that we actually provide is very specific as well. We'd like to have basically a general description of the home, features, amenities, to really make it sound, as inviting as it possibly can. And our goal is to do that without putting any price, without putting any room counts. The reason that we've not done that is through the different groups, teams, coaching that we've leveraged, as well as the company that actually sells this system, they've advised us not to do this, because if we're advertising a 3-bedroom house to somebody that's looking for a 4-bedroom house, they're going to hang up. If we're advertising a house that's listed at $210 and they're looking at $190, they're going to hang up. The one thing that I can tell everybody, and this is why the scripting that we want to start implementing is going to be so important, is the best time to convert these folks is when they make the very first initial call. If we can catch those calls live and we can follow a script and we can have a needs-based conversation with these borrowers, our opportunity to convert is significantly greater than if somebody hangs up and we try to call them back afterwards.
So it's really kind of like a little teaser is what you're saying. You don't want to give away all the information. You just want to pique their interest more.
Correct. Our agents that do this the best, Julie, what they do is we make up a flyer for the house, they make up a flyer for the house. So in our box, and we can, like, basically you have your Coldwell Banker Town and Country sign it to the front yard with the office phone number on there, and then in addition to that, there's also a freestanding box that has the actual sign writer on there. We don't put them on the actual sign. We put them between the sign and the road. That's what will get you the most calls. So on the flyers that we make up, general information: fireplace, pool, covered deck, patio, Brighton schools. Information that's important but not critical to the home. And that is always a black and white flyer too. Don't ask me why black and white flyers get more calls than color. I have no idea, but it's about a 20% difference.
That's so funny.
The flyers at the it's bizarre. And the flyers that the agents make on the inside, that's your detail flyer. So that's basically your room count, your price, all that stuff. And the thought process there is that they're from the road. We want them to call us to get them into the house. Once we got them into the house, whether we're the ones that took them in there or an agent from a different company took them into one of our listings, we want them to have as much information in the house as they possibly can.
Right, because then you know that they're, I mean, you're connecting with them very personally at that point.
Yeah, because, I mean, and also, too, if we can't get them in the house, we at least want to, as a courtesy to our sellers, we want them in there, even if they're currently under a buyer's agency agreement. And that's something that we have that we'll kind of talk through, too, as part of our script. So a couple features and benefits of call capture. One, it's a great tool to grow your business. It's a free service. It's on 24/7. Whether somebody calls it, whether they connect or not, we do have their phone number. You can increase your listing traffic through the ProQuest system that we offer. This IVR company actually has a fully customizable listing presentation as well that you can go through with your borrowers to show them to kind of set yourself apart from your competition. So this is something that can be used during a listing presentation. So if you're up against two other agents and you go in there with your comps and you go in there with, here's why our company is so great. This is just one more item that you can discuss that can set you apart, one more way that you can market your properties. The interesting thing about the call capture as well is there's a 4-digit extension at the end of it. So 1-800, I think it's 585-246, whatever the number is, there's an extension at the end. Well, the last digit of that extension is actually your marketing code. So Cheryl Brownlee does a great job using these, because she puts them in different meetings other than just a sign. And when I talked to Cheryl, I said, hey, do you know that if you made the last extension, the last digit of that number, you can make it say 1 for the sign. 1 will always be your sign writer. You can take that exact same extension. Let's say it's 1231. Well, that's going to be your sign. 1232. You can make that your mailer that you're going to do. So if anybody calls extension 2, we'll know that they're calling off your mailer.
Wow.
You can have basically 10 different places to source where the leads and where the calls are coming from to help you track your marketing down.
That's awesome. I mean, that's really amazing, because it really lets you drill down to a finite
it does.
center as to where you're spending your money or where you're getting your leads from. And we talked about in goals how important that was.
It is. And here's something else that, in the market, real estate market that we're in today, this particular part of the benefit has lost a little bit of value just because of how fast things are selling. But, for instance, like 2-3 years ago when houses would sit in the market longer, what was nice about being able to track calls like this is if you ever had to go back and sit down with your seller and on the reasons why we need to reduce the price, you would have multiple reasons and say, listen, I've taken 50 calls on your sign. I've had 6 open houses. I did a mailer for your property and got 8 calls. I've got, showing feedback, and it's just, you can really, instead of, operating on emotion, and you can really, put some quantitative data in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, too, the final reason, obviously, is you're still going to have folks hang up on this system, but that still gives us one more time to be able to go back at them with a phone call. I wouldn't necessarily call it a cold call because they did call on our property, so for some reason, whether it's a neighbor, whatever, they called. But that's where the skill comes in. A story that I like to tell about call capture and why I like it so much is there's a builder in Kalamazoo I used to do a lot of open houses with. It was actually Todd Roberts. You know Todd.
Oh, yeah. Yep,
and,
no, Todd will.
So Todd swears by open houses, and he swears by flyers, and I call capture to him. I tried to implement this idea, and he didn't like the idea about not having, he had a hard time grasping the concept. So Todd and I are sitting in a $450,000 house on a Sunday doing an open house, pouring down rain, and we're in one of the developments in the house that we're in. This car drives to the development across the way. Lady gets out of the car, gets her umbrella, runs to the sign, grabs fire, gets back in the car. Todd hits me on the chest and says, "See that? They grabbed the flyer. That's why I always have to have flyers." And as they drove past us on the way out of the sub, I said, "Great, let's call them real quick." And it kind of resonated with him because, okay, well, great. I mean, they got a flyer in their hand, but now they're driving away. We have no way of calling them. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
And that was in Crooked Cove, and we started doing call capture in there. This would have been 2000 and, dating myself. I think this was 2011, and he sold his 2010 Parade house off a buyer that came in off of a call capture sign.
Wow.
So, okay, so I'm good there.
Okay.
Next one.
Yep. I mean, this is basically kind of the stuff that we already talked about is that, the person who's standing in front of a house calling or texting for more information is totally interested. You want to capture them right away.
It's either going to be somebody like that. You're going to have basically 3 demographics of folks. You're going to have would-be buyers that are specifically interested in that particular property. You'll also get a lot of neighbor calls. Usually what happens is when the signs go on the ground, the first 7 days is when you get all the neighbor calls, okay? So when we started this, we were a little bit naive as far as all the different things that you can do with call capture when used effectively. And we would just basically, if they say, "Hey, I live around the corner," we'd say, "Great, the house is listed at $250, do you need what's the rate of your current mortgage? Have a great day." Through coaching, we learned that if somebody's calling, like, I don't care what 80% of, Americans, if a house gets listed in their neighborhood, you want to know what that house is getting listed for because in some way, shape, or form, you believe that has an impact on what your house is worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we started doing was our agents that are best at this, the folks that are the neighbors, that call and identify themselves as a neighbor, you still treat the call. It's still an opportunity for you to tell them your name, tell them you're a real estate professional, and then also after that particular home sells, reaching back out to that person, "Hey, that home that you called me on a week ago that we listed at $250, well, great news. We actually we're currently pending on that. We had several buyers that were looking in the area and couldn't quite find the house they were looking for. Do you know anybody else in your neighborhood that might be considering selling their home?"
Especially in this market. I mean, this is like an insane market right now.
Yeah. And we've really been taking those neighbor calls, and some of our better agents that are good with scripts have been having a lot of really good luck on getting listings out of it as a result of that. Vacant land, those are the other ones we've had a lot of good luck with. So go ahead to the next one. Yes, obviously, using call capture, whether we miss the call or not, it gives us a centralized place where we can track all of our calls back to listing. When we talk about increasing traffic to a listing, a couple things with the call capture system that are unique is there are a lot of times where we get the first phone call that comes in, and it comes in, it's a recording, it's very robotic, and if you hear it for the first time, you would swear it doesn't work. The folks, when they call in, and we'll kind of talk about the structure of the call here in a little bit, but when they call in, they're not expecting to talk to anybody. So that's where the scripting, the practice, the role playing really becomes important to go through with the person that calls in. But when you get them on the phone, you are able to have a conversation with them. And what we've also found is that people that are in the very early stages of home buying, oftentimes it could be the first call they've made because they're almost, I want to say, too scared to call an actual realtor. When you get them on the phone, a lot of those people, what we found, if they don't already have an agent, it's the first agent that talks to them wins until they give them a reason not to do business with them. So you take the call, answer their questions, have a needs-based conversation, and follow the scripts. So if we set that first appointment, as long as we're calling the person back and showing them value in our service, it's our client to lose, and that's the mentality you got to have going in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Obviously, we talked about this one is how we can really drill that down. This is one that I really like.
Yep. So with the call forwarding, one nice thing about this is too, and so with our IVR system, when I say IVR, that's just the name of the call capture system that we use. You basically type in, so it's kind of like a type to voice type of technology. Now you can also set up. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can do with it if you really want to drill down, where you can set up and have a voice recording on there. But it does allow you to have the calls transferred to you, and also it just frees you up and puts more time back in your week.
Sure. We kind of talked about this too.
Yeah.
But I think too that even with some of the older demographics, and Brian, you probably have statistics on this, but even with some of the older demographics, like my parents per se, I think that using current technology, capturing the information, following up right away, people will be impressed with that. Like, look at all that they did for me. They're going to do that for you. And that's really what we want, is for them to continue to talk about us and refer, right?
Right. Well, the Reisner team, they do something. They've used call capture forever, and that's a team that really does market aggressively. For a smaller team, I don't know, they do $15 million a year in Kalamazoo, which is actually quite a bit, considering the loan size that they deal with. Well, one of the things that people talk about a lot is something called results in advance. So when you are going to that listing appointment, you've got to believe in today's day and age, even on it used to be where a referral would get you in the door and basically insure you the business. Well, now a referral is basically your step in the door. Then generally what happens is the people will go online, they're going to see if you have any reviews, and they're going to, they might, have 2 or 3 agents that they're talking to. So you want to talk about things like results in advance and how you can do that. Incorporating this type of technology into a listing presentation can be very powerful. The other thing that the Reisner team does that I think is really sharp is they actually have a program that will do those business card stickers.
Yep.
So they put the picture of the house that they're going to show, and on the back they have basically the demographics, and they have a call capture number all set up, ready to go on the back of their business card. So when they get there to meet the client, when they hand the client their card to shake their hand, the client sees their name, their family picture. It's always the cheesy family pictures on the front of the card with all their contact information.
Right.
When the customer turns it over, they see a high-def sticker, business card sticker with their home, a call capture, all this information that's already been completed on it, and it's just one thing that's something where if they go and do that, the odds of 3 other agents that the homeowner is interviewing to list their home of doing those exact same things are very slim.
Well, and I always say too, with that is there's a lot of agents, right, who are going to walk in the door and say, well, I will do this. If you hire me, I will do this. But the thing that sets them apart is they're walking in there and saying, you don't know me from Adam. I want your business. Look at what I've already done for you. And that's the whole premise behind that results in advance.
It is.
And I'll have to look at my files, but I think I have a template for what you're talking about.
Yeah. So
Oh.
if you do, that'd be great.
Yep.
Okay.
So obviously we talked about it helps with the listings as well. You know, maybe they're going to call in on another listing, but because you capture them right away, you can talk. Maybe they want more information about that house, but once you get in that conversation with them, it's not maybe the right fit for them. But gosh, think about all the other listings you have that may be a good fit.
Yeah, and here's the one thing I will tell anybody that's going to have this system is that you've got to be very careful when you do take these calls live because the sellers will test you. We got an agent once. Yeah, you can probably see where this is going. So we had one of our agents, because during the winters, you know, we reach out to the sellers and make sure the signs are standing good order and all that stuff, and we called the seller, and he basically told us he was in the process of firing his agent, and we said, well, wait a minute, what's going on? And he had actually tested the agent himself, and the agent basically told him that the homeowner was unreasonable, the house was overpriced. He had 2 other ones he could show him. It was a disaster.
Oh my.
You are going to have agents that you are going to have sellers that will reach out and test this too. You're going to see their number because as they call in, you get the text and it'll say caller Bill Smith is listening too. So just pay attention to stuff like that, and also to remember that we have this system set up to help our agents sell more houses. Obviously, we want to capture buyers, but we're still doing it as a courtesy to sellers as well.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yep. The client's hanging up without leaving their contact information. We do capture it. Depending on how they register, the other nice thing about it is depending on how the clients have their cell phones registered, there are times where we get a phone number. There are also times where we get name, mailing address, and phone number.
Oh, nice.
So, you know, we've always said that your income is basically a function of the size of your database. So this is just something where we just want to continually build our database and get as many people in there as we can possibly have. Okay,
great.
So obviously the follow-up, once we get into the, I want to kind of talk through, in the second half of the call, I'm going to talk through how the system is set up and the structure of the script that we use, and the one that we recommend. But yeah, follow-up is obviously critical.
And I can't stress that enough too, because Brian, I mean, this is really call capture. Until you speak with them, it is somewhat of a passive way to grow your business, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
And we can't.
And it's something too. Where as much success as we have doing call capture, it's still like I lose sleep thinking about how much opportunity we lose because if somebody calls right now on one of our signs, I mean it's raining today, so we probably won't get a lot of sign calls today. But if somebody were to call right now, like I obviously cannot take that call, which is my greatest likelihood of converting the borrower. So when I go back and do a call after the fact, my percentage goes way down. But it's still, you still have got to make those calls.
Yeah, you just need to do it. And the follow-up in as Brian said, he's going to go through different scripts and different things that are proven that they've put together. I mean, this stuff is just, it sounds basic, but it's just so critical to your business. And one of the things that I really liked that I've heard personally work before is, hey, I was just checking to make sure that you got the information you needed and ask when can I set up a showing for you on this great home. It's simple. It's, you know, I mean, some of this stuff, some of the scripts that Brian is going to go through, you need to make it conversational, and you need to make it like not you're reading from a screen, just checking to make sure you got the information. You know, I mean, you don't want it to be like that. You really want it to come off of the cuff. You want it to make it sound like it's conversational. That's the kind of stuff that's going to win them hands down. So I guess I'm going to put this question to the group that's on the line. We've got a nice sized group of people here. Are you guys using the Kalamazoo Mortgage call capture system? And it's what is it? I always forget the name of it.
ProQuest is the name of the company that we use.
There. Okay, ProQuest. Yep. Yeah. So talk a little bit about that system and talk a little bit about it, Brian.
So in here, and I'll get kind of like from the top, because I know some agents are using it, but with it actually, I had a couple call me yesterday and say, hey, listen, I've been doing these signs, but honestly, I've never even called my own number. So basically, this is, ProQuest uses something called preemptive dialing. So what's unique about it is, everybody's seen the sign that we put in the yard. It's no different than any other call capture sign. It's an 800 number with a 4-digit extension.
Mm-hmm.
And what used to happen on call capture is that when somebody would call the 800 number, they'd give you the description of the house, and at the end it would say, to speak with an agent, press 1.
Okay.
Which would basically would be Latin for, okay, go ahead and hang up now, and then it put the agent in a position to go back and try to call the person. And some people, they don't recognize phone numbers, they're not answering them. And so what ProQuest did is they implemented something called preemptive dialing. So when we set up the dialers, and I can have myself, I can have Josh Berg, I'm going to put in Aaron. Like, I'm training those two right now on how to take these calls. And I also want to start doing a lot more aggressive training with the agents to have them prepared to take the calls as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is when somebody calls that sign actually calls all 4 of us, okay? So when I answer the phone, I have it saved in my phone. I have the ProQuest phone number saved in my phone as your next client. So whenever my phone rings and it says your next client, I know I got a sign call.
That's awesome.
So you answer the phone, and you have to say hello so the system recognizes you. You say hello, and the way that we save it in the system is we're going to tell you the address, and we're going to tell you, the real estate professional, mortgage professional, the list price, just so you have it in the back of your mind for the conversations. I mean, I get these things at Little League. I get these things. When Samantha was born, I was actually running down to grab Carrie some juice from the gift shop, and I got a call for Nicole Palamucci. And I was just kind of blowing off some steam, so I took the call. It ended up being a cash buyer, but I knew the price of the home.
Nice.
Staying right there in the hospital lobby. So
wow.
So the system calls you. It'll say to connect, say yes. You say yes. While this is happening, this takes about 30 seconds. The customer is hearing the general description that we input, that we type into the system. As you walk into a big open living room, look across the park-like setting, blah blah blah. The customer hears that, and at the end of that call, it says for more information and pricing, say yes. The customer says yes. Now on our end of the line, we hear 3, 2, 1, and it connects us live.
Okay.
Okay. So now you're on live with the customer, and that's the dynamic of how the technology works. It's not to speak with an agent, press 1. So that's preemptive dialing in a nutshell, and that's what allows 74% of the people that call these signs to say yes to make that connection.
So at that point, they don't know that they're requesting to speak with someone, right? They're just wanting more information.
Correct, yeah, and it says for, and I don't remember exactly, I'll have to listen to it again. I think it says for more information or for pricing information, say yes.
I like that.
They say yes, that's when it makes the connection.
That's cool. And what you're saying too is you can route it to even if you had a team, you could route it to everybody on your team, so it's kind of like a first person to take the call gets it.
It is.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And the other thing we have a really nice back office where I can run reports, and I can say, okay, here's who took the call, here's how long the call lasted for, and that is good for coaching if you do have a team. So we work with a team. One of our teams in Kalamazoo, the Roy Miller team, they got, 9 buyers, 8, a pretty decent-sized team. And when they bring these guys on, they're probably our best team as far as answering the calls, and they answer about 65% of them, which is, it's good, but it's still, if you think about losing 35% of live transfers, it's pretty sickening. Mm-hmm. And whenever they hire a new agent, when we see a phone call lasting 62 seconds, we're pretty sure that once they got the person on the phone, the new agent freaks out, says it's 119.9, and the borrower hangs up instead of going through the actual.
I just in my brain, I saw like this panicked face. That's funny.
Oh yeah, it always happens, and as Dwayne does a really good job working with them and getting them prepped up and giving them the confidence to actually follow it. Mm-hmm. Because the fact of the matter is, you're going to get calls from people. You're going to get the calls from the neighbors, and you've got to understand how to have that conversation. Yep. You're also going to get calls from somebody that just wants the price, and they're going to let you know how angry they are that you answer the phone live. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, the first person that we all work for in this deal is we work for the sellers. Now, the courtesy to our sellers, we're trying to sell a house. Yep. So we're going to follow our process to sell this house, and if it inconveniences some random person that's not in the market, then, we apologize for it, but that's a mindset we have to have. We're trying to grow a real estate business. We're trying to sell a house for the seller.
And you also know, you guys who've been on the calls with me before too, I've said this, I make it into a joke, but I mean this sincerely, is I'm somewhat of an optimistic Pollyanna in that I don't know who's on the other end of the line. All I know is, like you said, they are my next client.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
answering those is just critical. They're already interested.
Yep. Okay. What do we got next?
Well, we've got the form. Do they need what?
Yep, so
Tell me
here's
a
the
little bit
form.
about this, because it's easy breezy.
It is. The biggest challenge that we've seen with agents, and if someone wants to sit down, I can have Aaron show you how to do it. The biggest challenge that we have is, like, when we started doing it, people would print it and fill it out. It really needs to be done electronically, and the reason for that is the amount of these that we do on a weekly basis. If it's not done electronically, and it's really my fault for not being more of a stickler on it. Just that, you kind of get everybody happy. So if it's not done electronically and saved electronically, when it's done that way, it allows my team to basically just copy and paste right into the system.
Got it.
When it's printed off and handwritten on, and they actually got to go through and retype everything in, and it just, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, it doesn't sound like a lot of time.
But the volume we're doing.
Yeah, you do 30 of these a week, and there goes, a day's worth of work. So,
and this is, right now, this is an Excel file. Yeah. And I can include this with the recording too, but it's just an Excel spreadsheet that you just go in and type in the information. This is literally a picture of the Excel spreadsheet.
It is. And then, and on the right-hand side, there's seller contact information. We use that most of the time. We use it in the winter time, and the reason is that we'll do our next round of follow-up calls here in about 2 days. And during the winter time, our signs, just because those call boxes, they are flimsy. They're not placed in like a normal real estate sign. Our signs in winter get destroyed.
Oh yeah.
They get absolutely destroyed, and we want to make sure that we're reaching out to sellers. And so basically, the first call is just, hey, this is Brian calling from KM Mortgage. I'm helping Susie market your home for sale. In the next coming days, you're going to see a freestanding brochure box. That's a tool that's designed to help market your home for sale. Anytime that sign's not in good working order, you're out of flyers, here's a number to call, and we can make sure we get them replenished to you within 24 to 48 hours.
How easy.
Do you have any questions?
That's easy.
It. Yeah, it's not, at no point are they solicited for a mortgage or anything like that. It's just a courtesy call to them. If it's a landlord or tenants or something like that, then obviously we're not calling tenants, asking them to help us out on it.
Right.
But we do ask, and this is something that I want to get better about, because in my opinion, we've done a poor job, and that is making sure that we're working with the agents to make sure the signs are in good working order too.
Okay.
Because if we put a sign out and it gets broken, damaged, whatever, just let us know and we'll get another one out there.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure they're up in good working order, presentable, standing upright, all that fun stuff.
What's our turnaround on that? Like if somebody sends this to us, what's the turnaround on that?
It can usually be done in about a day.
Okay.
Aaron does them, and Aaron's doing them all now, and she's getting better and better at it. She's very familiar with the process. Most of the time she's doing it, and she's in. Aaron, we're going to put our schedules out on Monday, but Aaron's going to be bouncing back and forth between Pinckney and Fowlerville.
Okay.
With probably 1 day a week in Brighton, and Josh is going to do Brighton and Milford.
Okay.
We have good coverage for all of our offices.
Right.
But Aaron is the one that does these.
Okay. So a couple of the key information, if you couldn't see that form, this is the key information that you guys need, right?
Sure. Yeah, and property address, obvious, sales price. Pictures of the home, if a lot of times if it's not on the MLS yet, we just need that to have a couple pictures for the flyer. If it is on the MLS, they can just go and copy and paste it from one of the sites that it shows up on. And then just the agent name and contact information. That's important for because we have to set up the phone numbers on the calls.
Do you have statistics? I think you said this, but I'm not sure. There's also a little thing in there for a description, how long do people usually stay on the phone? Because I've heard like 30 seconds or less. I mean, you got to have an awesome elevator speech.
It's I don't know what the exact time is. I know it's the word count. Our target word count is 90 word description, so that's the ideal time to get the most. And
Okay.
and one of the reasons that we chose ProQuest is the coaching company that we use is located in O'Fallon, Illinois, and ProQuest is actually located in the same time, and those guys work together a lot.
Okay.
So when I have questions or whenever I go down to O'Fallon to see, like, to an event at Corcoran or anything like that, ProQuest is always there. And, I mean, I have access to the guy that owns the company. So
Nice.
he says, hey, you know what, so-and-so's trying this, so-and-so's doing that. Hey, we tweaked this script. It just, but I know as of right now, 90 words is our target.
Okay.
And that's the other thing, Julie, is that the spreadsheet that Dwayne made,
Mm-hmm.
in that box that you type out the description, it's got a word counter in there.
Yeah, I did see that, and that's pretty cool too. So what he's saying, guys, is, and I can actually go live and we can look at that if you want to, Brian. It's not a problem. But what it does is it counts your words down, so you know you have exactly the right amount. That's going to get you the maximum traffic.
Yep.
Okay.
So, you know, we get you guys the flyers. If we're in the office, and you guys always print them. And then we also get you a PDF copy as well.
Okay.
Actually, I think now that I think about it, I think I've been actually having them send it over as a PDF copy as well as a Word doc. That way, if there's anything that wants to be tweaking, you guys can.
What about what about price changes, B? What happens if and it'd be crazy in this market because it's so hot right now, but something stays on the market maybe a month or so and we wind up doing a price drop. Is it easy to update all of this stuff on the back office side?
Yeah, it could be. You would just let Aaron know.
Okay.
And honestly, the fact of what you just said, when someone says why wasn't the price on the thing, and that's exactly what I tell them. I said we want to make sure pricing's up to date. As a courtesy to our seller, the most effective, efficient way for us to do that is make sure that we're looking up live the day someone calls.
Okay.
You know,
very cool.
Yep.
So we have a little bit of some verifications that are done, right?
Yep, we do that. We actually have, and we're going to start this next week, where our intern in Kalamazoo is going to start sending a report out each week with all the active listings, just so we can make sure that the listings are still active with the agent.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to I'm going to work with Karen to figure out, we think that there's a way for the agents that are participating in this, for me to have Aaron actually coordinate it with the front desk. So just as a new listing comes in, we can have it automatically implemented.
Nice.
To where it just cues Aaron to make the sign and reassign it.
Oh, very nice. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm working on that right now. Details on that are going to follow, but my goal is to have it done by the end of next week.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
And then a couple of the best practices that I know that you get from your coaching staff or your coaching team. Yeah,
so the biggest thing on this is the getting the calls live when they come in and having the confidence to actually take that call, knowing that you're not going to convert every single person that you talk to. But the one thing I can promise is the more people you talk to, the better and more efficient you're going to get at taking the calls.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a call, the manner in which these particular calls come in, it's a different type of call, a different type of script than what a normal sign call would be.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. So here's a little bit of the structure.
Yeah, so we have a script that through a firm that we use, that they use on this. It's LP Mama is the acronym. And basically, when the call comes in, and when I sit with people individually, we'll go through these. But we know, the one fact that we know is that when someone's calling on a sign call, 85% of the people are going to fall into either neighbors or people that are actually looking at the house. And then the rest, you're going to have the tire kickers. If we know that the number one reason that they're calling on that, more than likely is going to be the location, because they're driving by for whatever reason, they're in that stub, whatever reason, we open the call. The very first thing that when I take the calls in is, I'll say, good afternoon, this is Brian. which home may I price for you today? And there'll be a kind of a little awkward pause because there's a second where they're identifying the fact that, oh gosh, I got a live person. And they'll say, hey, I'm calling at the house at, 1234 Fowlerville Road. And I'll say, and I always start just like this. I apologize, and sir, I apologize about the connection. Who am I speaking with? Wait, they gave me their name. I want to get their name right away because at that point, every single question I can ask, I can start with their name. It's a much warmer call. Say, okay, great. Hey, John, is Fowlerville Road the only area you're looking to buy in, or what other areas are you looking to buy in?
Mm-hmm.
The thinking, the logic behind that is I really want to zero in and figure out what's bringing them to Fowlerville. Is that the only? I want to know exactly where they're at. So, like in Livingston County, if they're telling me anything in Livingston County, then in my mind, I'm already got a zero-down loan option in the back of my head. If they say, yep, that's the area, perfect. And I say, the next question is, well, I'm looking that up. What is it that brings you to Fowlerville? Usually, that's the point where location is usually dictated by one or two things. It is usually dictated by schools or it's dictated by work. So that right there, when you talk about building rapport, identifying where somebody's employed, getting them to tell you about, oh, we need to have Howell schools. Oh, really? How old are your kids? When you can get the conversation going down that road to establish the quick rapport, it's very good.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good, and you get a lot of mileage out of the call. So the next question that I like to ask at some point, and there's really no specific order, is I say, okay, so John, you said you're calling for pricing information. Were you calling for pricing information, or were you calling for payment information? If they say price, I say, oh, so this will be a cash transaction. And sometimes they'll catch them off guard, and they'll take a step back, and I'll say, well, I don't know. And I'll say, well, the reason I ask is that if it's payment information, the payment can fluctuate, and I explain what my role is on the team.
Uh-huh.
Usually by the time we've gotten to this point where when I ask for motivation, when I go through it and I say, hey, what part of the process are you in? One thing about Livingston County, more so than any other county that I've ever done this in, is a ton of people that call me saying they have houses to sell. If they tell me that they have a house to sell, then right there at that point I put the brakes on all mortgage talk, and my goal is to get that person, the agent, as quickly as I can. Sam Girardi had a listing over on Latson Road. It was the acreage listing. And I'm not kidding you. We probably had, 10 calls. He's probably got 10 active clients off of this one sign call. But
Wow.
Often, yeah, it was ridiculous. But most of the time, my line of thinking is if somebody owns a house, they're getting to sell it. Rarely I've seen it more lately than ever, but most of the time the person's going to be able to get pre-qualified for something. So at that point, it's all about getting them back to the agent.
Mm-hmm.
So, ideally, start to finish these calls, if the scripts are followed and you're able to get some rapport going and have a conversation, the call's not going to take any more than 4 to 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah, I think that's great. The last slide we have, Brian, is questions, but I know that you had a few other things you wanted to talk about.
No, that was just what I'll do is for the folks that are participating, I'm gonna start having we're gonna begin reaching out and scheduling for next week to actually go through the scripting, and I'm gonna also get on the schedule with Pat to do some training where we actually do like the actual go through the scripts and details with the agents. But other than that, I would go ahead and open it up for questions right now for anybody on the call that has questions.
Okay, great. So we went over a lot of information. I think that the basic is just that call capturing is good. We've got an easy way to do it through Kalamazoo Mortgage. What questions do you guys have? Jody, I know you're on the call. Ray, Cheryl, I know you've used it. You're particularly using the flyers and stuff. Susan, Diane, I know Bill said he wasn't using them yet, but he would like to. So what questions, guys? Cheryl has good feedback for us. She says she loves it. Okay, let's see here. So we got a few questions rolling in. Jody asked, what
Okay.
can we show clients on a listing appointment? Oh, very, very good question. Good question. So what can we show
So
them on a listing?
I have an editable PowerPoint listing presentation that I can share. And I actually think I put it on Yammer once. I can
Okay.
put it back up on there.
Yeah.
ProQuest did. They're the ones that built it. It's a 90-page PowerPoint listing presentation for ProQuest. And I told Scott Wood, the guy that owns ProQuest, and I said, Scott, you're killing me with this.
90
You know,
pages,
for me
did
to
you
get,
say?
yeah, 9990. That's the real number. I said, the agents that I work with, I said, for me to even have them have a structured, scripted listing presentation is not an easy feat, but to expect anybody to go through 90 pages, I mean, I'm like, come on, guys. So they were supposed to be getting me in a bridge version.
Okay.
And I think it needs to be 2 to 3 pages that goes in addition, because, I mean, at the end of the day, we sell ourselves first, our company second, our product third. And
Yeah.
when I think about that, this is like our product. Like, this is just one piece of our puzzle that we're going to present. It should never dominate a listing presentation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's one more added value item, right?
Yeah, like when you leave there, my goal is that if somebody leaves a listing presentation, they would say, wow, I like Jody. She seemed nice. She seems honest. She seems like a hard worker. Wow, I like Coldwell Banker. What a great company. You know, they outsell their competition, you know, and everything that we're supposed to convey about how great Coldwell Banker is to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing is, I mean, I want it to be part of it, but I don't ever want it to dominate them for them to think that that's the only thing that we're going to do for them.
Right.
So that's why. But
Good.
it is editable. It is editable. Maybe what we could do is just take some of that content, put it into a 1 to 2 page document that if we do have a formalized listing presentation, we can just kind of slide that in there in the,
Sure.
you know, it's part of our internet exposure and all that stuff.
Yeah. Bill asked, can we do this for our commercial listings?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And then Cheryl asked, as the calls come in, do we, aka the agents, answer, or is Kalamazoo Mortgage supposed to answer it?
And this is an area where I will just plain blank think that I've done a poor job. When we started this, I guess the answer that a lot of folks were getting was, because we basically beta tested it with one agent, and when I did that, I took all the calls live at the time I was doing it. My stance on that shifted a little bit, because if I'm with a customer, I don't ever want a call getting non-answered. So if everybody is willing to learn the scripts and take the calls, I think first person to answer the phone wins. We're all on the same team.
Right. Yeah.
So So to me, I would almost even rather have somebody that doesn't quite have the script memorized 100% taking that call versus the chance of us missing it.
Mm-hmm. So that brings back, Cheryl, that brings back to having the set of people who would answer the call. The likelihood is going to go up that somebody you trust on your team is going to be answering that, right? Whether it's KM or the agent, it doesn't really matter. The message is the same.
We've had offices in the past where agents have actually, like singular agents, have actually gotten together and partnered up on these and done referral fees back and forth to each other, because they understand that if I don't get the call, they understand how the conversion works, and they'd rather take a chance to get 30% of something versus 100% of nothing. So they've said, hey,
what about if a team went in and maybe had pooled their resources, depending on how big and how fast this grows, but what if they had a dedicated person to answer? If a team went in and did that, as well as the other people, but that referral fee, I'm kind of taking it a step further, I guess.
Yeah, well, here's kind of the crazy thing about how this works sometimes too, is for anybody that's got, if you have 8 to 10 calls per month first time is roughly what we estimate you'll get.
Okay.
And that's a law of large numbers. I mean, I can say that knowing that I have 400 of these in the ground all over the state of Michigan. The one thing that you'll learn about this real quick is it's driven by Saturday, Sunday mornings. Obviously, you're going to get sign calls. Okay. When you take a day like today, you look outside, it's cold, it's windy, it's crappy. If it's 62 degrees and sunny on Thursday, Friday afternoon, my phone blows up.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's driven by day of the week, it's driven by time of the day, it's driven by weather. So when the challenge to assigning a single person to it, in my opinion, is that when these calls come in, they come in during a very concentrated time period.
Sure.
And if you got one person trying to field those calls, what are you going to do when 3 people call at once?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
So again, it goes back to having a strong team of people who are disseminating the same message. Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Let's see. Jody said, I saw it yesterday, was hoping we had something more simple. Oh, Jody, are you talking about that 90-page dealio? Let's work on getting that simplified. That's no problem.
Yeah.
Bill, yes, we'll go ahead and do that.
Jody, I actually put that on the when I requested that, they gave it to me. I uploaded it on Yammer in the morning. I got home that night, and I was just sitting down having a cup of tea, and I looked at it, and I said, "Oh boy, I wish I never would have posted that when I saw it was 90 pages." I was actually.
I'm sorry for the snort.
Yeah, I sent it to Rachel Evers too, and she's like, "Do you realize this thing is 90 pages long?" And I'm like, "I do now."
That's funny. Let's see. Okay, Susan, great question. Does this work for condo listings since we can't put signs in the yard?
What we've been hearing that people have done and tried, I don't know how effective it's going to be, but putting the rider and the rider only in the window so it can be seen from the street.
Okay. So we could do that depending on what the regulations are in the thingy.
Correct.
Okay. Let's see here. Cheryl, my text notification says end of call, not direct connected.
That means that the borrower did not say yes.
Okay, so that means,
that happens,
okay. So what are you,
happens, what my stance on it is we would appoint 2 people, one mortgage person and one real estate person, to call that person back. The sooner the better. And when I call them back, and if I have their name, because sometimes they'll actually say the name and the description of the text, I'll give them a call back, and when they answer the phone, I'm assuming I'm calling a cell phone, because 90% of the time I am, unless I have the world's longest, rotary phone. They're standing in front of the house, and I say, "Hey, John." "Yeah, John." "Hey, John, this is Brian Metner calling. I apologize. I just missed your call. How can I help you?"
Nice. Okay.
And I mean, obviously they hung up the phone on a reason.
Yeah.
These are not high converting calls, so you got to go into it with a mindset of, there's a good chance this person's going to hang up. It's no different than the old days when you're actually doing, cold calls. As long as, the one thing that I tell my guys when I train them is if you act like a telemarketer, they're going to treat you like one. So I say, "Hey, I apologize, I missed your call."
Yep.
And they'll say, "Oh, well, I was calling because I thought it was going to give me the price." "Oh, perfect. So were you looking for pricing or payment information?" At that point, I try, do my best to get in a script. Sometimes we have success. Sometimes we find out real quick that they're just looking for a price. We converted for Terry Gill. I know they put an offer out a couple weeks ago. I don't think it ever came together though. He got converted on a follow-up call like that. One of his people called on one of his sides.
Okay.
Was on a follow-up call using that particular script.
Okay, good. Awesome. Let's see here. Cheryl has this is kind of a testimony, so this is awesome. I've had 21 calls since January 19th on 6 listings. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, especially because that's the time of year where you don't traditionally get as many calls as you do in the spring.
Right. I mean, that's a total dead. I should say traditionally that's a dead time. I don't know. This market has surprised me more than anything. And then she said, I call them and they are so surprised and happy. So she calls them back. If she can't get it, she calls them back, says, does her little scripting and connects with them. So that's great. Let's see. Ray said, I've done that several times and they didn't really have an issue because I had a lot more to offer than the message that they received. than what they receive by the message. Ray, I think you're spot on with that. And it's, you're a person, you're not automated, you know, and I think that leads credence to what you're calling them for, calling them back on. And a lot of times, I mean, that is what the thing is for. It's a teaser. It's not meant to, you know, throw up all the detail on them. I mean, then we're non-existent. We never know we can't gauge their level of interest. So.
Well, and as a credit to Ray too, like when we started this, I kind of went in there. I don't want to say I was naive. I was just basically ignorant on the process. But when we started doing this, you know, I let a few quick experiences tell me that, you know, this is great to capture first-time home buyers because that's what we had the best luck with. I mean, I don't know. I think Ray is sticking these in $500,000 listings. I mean, I know his list prices are up there. He's still gotten a couple of calls on. Is that right, Ray? What was the list price in that one you've gotten the calls on?
Let me see if I can unmute him. I think I can. Ray. Whoa, that's loud. Hi, Ray.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that was 500,000.
Yeah, that's the only one that I received those types of calls on. It was 500K.
Yeah,
you know,
that is something to where it's in this particular, in Livingston County, the people are not fazed by call capture. Like in Kalamazoo, we never had good luck on the higher end listings, and you know, a lot of the thought process over there was we just thought, well, they must already have their realtors in line. You know, it's probably not their first house, whatever. Over a year, how many calls have you gotten on that one time? You've had it for now, what, like 3 weeks?
Yeah, we got like 6 calls, and it's the property's tucked away, so it's not easy to find. Yeah. So I'm sure we're going to get more as we get directionals as the builder gets the house more complete. So, you know, a lot of the feedback is, oh, that's above our price range, but that's when I try to convert them to something in the subs around there that are 200, 300, 400. So, yeah, it's been good.
Good. Great.
Great. Thanks for sharing that, Ray.
Any other questions? Let's see. I don't see any on here, so perfect. Well, Brian, thank you so much for running this through with us. I think that there's, you know, once people understand it and why it's so important and see the results like what Ray is getting and what Cheryl is getting, I think that you're going to possibly have a little more business from this. So perfect. We'll work on scripts.
We're going to start, and just so you guys already know, Josh will be reaching out to everybody. So me, Josh, and Aaron will start doing like the individual, like the one-on-ones with these scripts and whatnot, starting next week. So starting on Monday, he'll start making calls to you guys on this.
Okay.
Just give everybody a heads up on it, and we'll go from there. Okay.
Perfect. And then we're working on shortening, Jody, that presentation to, I don't know, I'm thinking like maybe 60 pages or something.
We'll get it down to 80, 85 pages for you.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Perfect. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Have a great week, and look forward to our invite for next week's class. As always, if you have any questions, Brian, myself, Aaron, we're all here for you to help you in support of growing your business. So have a great week, everybody.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.